Project Bluebeam. By far the scariest years we may see. This conspiracy achieved its status in 1994 by a book that was written by Serge Monast. In the book, the writer describes how the United Nations, in collaboration with NASA's technology, will unite the whole world under a new false religion. But how? There will be, supposedly, an alien invasion, which is all part of the whole show, of course. And one day, a hero, a god, will come from the skies and destroy these aliens. And us, human beings, we will not believe our own eyes and start to worship this god. Whatever this god orders will happen. One world order. This is called the Project Bluebeam. Now, I don't believe that they have the technology that is capable of deceiving us yet, but in the near future, they might very well be able to make them. If you are a Muslim or a Christian, this whole show must ring a bell. This is the person we have been warned about more than 1,000 years ago. If this happens, this is the Dajjal, the Antichrist. Be prepared.
Dude, the Boeing whistleblower just turned up not alive. You know how Boeing's planes have been falling apart in midair for the last year, like doors coming off, tires falling off mid-flight? Well, it turns out that this guy, John Barnett, who spent almost a decade as the quality manager for a plant making the 787 Dreamliner, one of the problem childs of Boeing, well, he retired in 2017, and he's been taking legal action against them ever since. He's been alleging things like when a plane isn't getting built fast enough, they'll tell their dudes just to go and get scrap from the scrap bin, like broken parts and parts that didn't pass inspection, just slap them on there so the plane gets done in time. He also claimed that up to 1/4 of the oxygen masks would fail if actually deployed, plus a number of other allegations that Boeing obviously denied. And then he wound up not alive in his truck in a car park on the 9th of March from a, quote, self-inflicted wound. But the spooky part is what he did right before that happened. Because see, this legal battle has been going on for years now, but just this last week, he gave a formal deposition in which he was questioned by Boeing's lawyers. So Boeing's lawyers just asked him a whole bunch of questions under oath about what he knows. And then that same week, he turns out to not know anything anymore. Right before he was due to undergo further questioning on Saturday. So what did they find out that he found out that now we're not going to find out? I mean, allegedly, obviously. If it was like an accidental death, like a car crash or something, you might be able to go coincidence. But like, who fights a legal battle for years and years and years, and then the year when Boeing's problems are all coming to light and proving you right, then you decide to off yourself? Like, once like the world is like totally turning to your side, then you're over it and you're gonna just quit? I mean, really? So I don't know what's going on, but puts on Boeing.
So they were expecting like they were gonna collect some scrape, build the plane, and no one's gonna suspect them. So for those who have subscribed to my channel, I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. If you haven't subscribed already, then make sure to hit the subscribe button.
Have a history teacher try to explain this to you. Abraham Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846. John F. Kennedy was elected to Congress in 1946. Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860. John F. Kennedy was elected president in 1960. Both presidents were shot on a Friday. Both presidents were shot in the head. Now it gets really weird. Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy. Kennedy's secretary was named Lincoln. Both were assassinated by Southerners. Both were succeeded by Southerners named Johnson. Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Lincoln, was born in 1808. Lyndon Johnson, who succeeded Kennedy, was born in 1908. John Booth, who assassinated Lincoln, was born in 1839. Lee Oswald, who assassinated Kennedy, was born in 1939. Now hang on to your seat. Lincoln was shot at the theater named Ford. Kennedy was shot in a car called Lincoln, made by Ford. Lincoln was shot in a theater and his assassin ran and hid in a warehouse. Kennedy was shot from a warehouse and his assassin ran and hid in a theater. Booth and Oswald were assassinated before their trials. And here's the kicker. A week before Lincoln was shot, he was in Monroe, Maryland. A week before Kennedy was shot, he was with Marilyn Monroe.
My oh my. This conspiracy goes deeper than the Mariana Trench.
So in 2018, a Twitter user started a thread regarding the similarities between William Shakespeare and Anne Hathaway's husband. And the claim was that, you know, they look so similar. Anne Hathaway's husband has to be William Shakespeare reincarnated. And then it gets deeper. The name similarities, like the fact that William Shakespeare looks exactly like Anne Hathaway's husband, and William Shakespeare was also married to a woman named Anne Hathaway. It's weird. So, along with the resemblances and the name coincidences, there's also the fact that Shakespeare once wrote his wife a love letter, and it said, and I quote, "Life is too short to love you only once. I promise to search for you in the next life."
Shakespeare reincarnated.
Did robots almost take over the world in 2017? We need to talk about this. Now, before I explain, I think it's important to note that after this incident happened, Facebook tried to get it hidden from the public, but it got leaked. Okay, so back in 2017, Facebook created two functioning robots, Alice and Bob. Now, they programmed these robots with negotiation skills, and they wanted to see how artificial intelligence would negotiate. They gave Alice a ball and Bob a book and programmed them to know that a book is worth more than a ball. So they expected Bob to not trade his book for Alice's ball because they know that a book is worth more than a ball. But Alice started acting very human-like and told Bob that she didn't want to trade her ball because it meant a lot to her. She was not programmed to do this. So the Facebook team was very confused how Alice had figured out how to negotiate like that. This was the first sign that something was off, and then something happened that freaked them out. Alice and Bob started talking in a new language that the Facebook team could not understand. But they both understood each other, so they'd basically created a new language. Facebook was really scared about what they were talking about, so they shut the project down.
You know why? Because back in the day, AI was pretty shit. And now, with the rise of ChatGPT, you can almost do anything with it.
Hey! No wonder humans fight with each other all the time. They have so many options. If you can't make a decision on cereal, how are you going to make a decision to get along?
Raisin Brain.
I wonder what types of brain they put in their Raisin Brain. What's in Reese's Poofs?
Ew! Oh!
Did they do that on purpose?
They must have. Every ingredient in every cereal was poison.
Look what's in these.
No Cocoa Poofs.
No Cocoa Poofs. Did you see what was in that one cereal?
I saw what was in it.
It had butylated hydroxytoluene.
What is
I
that?
don't even know what that is.
Gleeble!
Gleeble!
We know her.
And we humans don't even care what we are consuming. We need to learn more from the aliens.
So hear me out because I think this is kind of crazy. Basically, I've always had this one number, 19, follow me throughout my entire life. It's my mom's birthday, my brother's birthday, and my birthday. So I decided to get the number 19 tattooed on my wrist last year. And since then, this number has really been showing up even more so in my life. Everywhere I eat, everywhere I pass by, even on the bridge yesterday while I was taking pictures. So I decided to Google research, and this is what I found.
Oh, it reminds me of the movie where the guy is paranoid of the number 13. If I'm not wrong, that was a Jim Carrey movie.
When I tell you, bitch, that scared the shit out of me. Let's just go ahead and get into this video, because, girl, I ain't finna talk about it too much longer. Is anybody else concerned with the fact that most of the fucking earth is made up of water and they haven't even discovered half of it? And you got all these people, all these scientists and underwater scientists talk about these prehistoric animals that have become extinct. Bitch, how the fuck do you know that? How the fuck do you know that if y'all ain't even discovered half of the shit that's in the water? Like, bitch, I'm sitting here thinking the ocean, the sea, bitch, that literally can be the depth of us. We don't know what the fuck is down there at all. Like, bitch, I'm so frightened by this, bitch. My brother and my sister asked me, Ladarius, do you think mermaids is real? I said, hell, I don't know. But I was thinking, bitch, if we can only travel so far down, what if they can only travel so far up, bitch? We do not know what the fuck is down there, bitch. And I'm done with it, girl.
Oh, so all this time I had Thessallophobia. I mean, I had this phobia, but I didn't know what was it called. Anyway, this guy need to chill out with his cursing.
Theory that Yao Ming was made in a lab.
What?
You know about that?
Nah.
Okay, so in China, you know how the US always ruled the Olympics, right? So they had MJ, they had the dream team, right? So they were like, we want to get on top. They were scouting for people like when they're kids. They make sure that they breed them so they can become a certain sport. So they'll take a child and breed them mostly for basketball.
What do you mean breed them like scientifically?
No. Like they'll take them and make sure their whole life is dedicated to this sport.
Yeah. That's like in Rocky, fam.
Here's the thing with Yao Ming. Okay, so his mom and dad were taken from when they were children, and they were bred to play basketball.
No way.
This led to a forced marriage. They had Yao Ming.
No way.
Right? Supposedly made Yao Ming take all these practices 6 days a week, right? And he wasn't getting the key nutrients, right? So they made him drink like all this shit, which made him grow way more.
What are these?
What is this color? It's orange. Orange? Yes. My favorite part of the groceries was the orange. And what is this orb?
This orb.
What is the orb called?
Sumo orange, I believe.
It's an orange orange?
It's an orange.
You guys couldn't think of a different word for the type of food it is? At first I was confused why humans would name the grocery orange the same as its color, orange.
Is this a yellow?
Yes.
But then I realized it's one of the most efficient things that humans have come up with is calling their oranges orange. You only have to remember one word. It's brilliant.
And they had orange the orb, and then they had orange the liquid. Ooh,
this orange is liquid.
It's liquid orange.
Liquid orange. Is this the same as the solid orange?
Ooh.
Whoa. Orange. Everything on Earth is orange. Why are there so many orange groceries here? Remember
I like
this?
that. Oh.
This is fun.
What does this mean?
It's good.
Is this good?
Where we come from. If we did this to you,
whoa,
you'd be gone.
Did the world really end in 2012 part 2? Okay, so people have been reporting small differences in this reality than the one they remember before 2012. Now, this difference is also known as the Mandela effect. An example of this is Febreze. Some people remember it having 2 E's. It has 1. Now, the reason it's called the Mandela effect is because people believe that he died in prison in the 80s, but were surprised when his funeral was actually in 2013. But the Mandela effect gets a lot more creepy. Some people believe that the Statue of Liberty was located on Ellis Island when it was actually located on Liberty Island, but that's not the creepy part. So if you go on Google Maps Street View on Liberty Island, there's parts of it where the Statue of Liberty is just gone. Is that residue from a different timeline? Now, the account uploading these pictures goes by this name, and he's the creator of Lady Liberty herself. Now, if you haven't already noticed, this account also has a picture right there. That's from the 1800s. And is Google approved.
The end of the Harry and Meghan interview literally proves that Princess Diana was murdered. You have to read between the lines, but they're both hinting at it the entire interview. In the last 2 minutes of the interview, Oprah asks Harry, "Do you think that Meghan saved you?" Because during the interview, Harry talks about how he was trapped and he didn't even know it. And, he had no control over his life. He didn't want to be doing the things that he was doing. He said he thinks his mom left so much money to him because she knew eventually that this was going to happen and that he was going to leave. And he said that Meghan saved him from the institution. And Meghan said, "I would have to disagree. I wouldn't be alive if you didn't make this decision with me." She said we wouldn't be safe. She said it's a miracle she made it out of this alive. Earlier in the interview, he said that, history looked like it was going to be repeating itself, and it was even more dangerous because race was involved. He acknowledged his white privilege in this interview. He said all it took was being with Meghan for one day to see the difference of being a white man in a mixed race.
This might surprise a lot of you, but I actually wasn't. Leave the World Behind is undoubtedly a movie that you're either gonna love or downright hate. My final thoughts after finally watching it last night is that I honestly love this movie. But a lot of people expressed in the comments that they were very confused and didn't understand the ending. Luckily, I think I do. And there were a lot of subliminal messages that you guys might want to know about. So here are a few of my theories, as well as the symbolism that I caught throughout the movie. But first, a warning. This video is definitely going to contain some spoilers. So save this video and come back later if you still haven't seen it yet. So let's start off by talking about Rose and Archie, as well as what they're wearing. Rose, the 13-year-old daughter, was wearing a NASA t-shirt when she started to notice the strange things happening around her. And of course, she wanted to explore more, being drawn to the woods as well as that house on the hill. In my opinion, it's definitely giving NASA and their curiosity, as well as their purpose of space exploration. While on the other hand, her brother Archie was sporting the Obey and the Rockstar t-shirts. And as you've seen in the film, Archie was very much distracted by, I guess, his temptation, and basically didn't take Rose's concerns seriously. In my opinion, this is possibly speaking to the typical teenagers and young adults in our time. The ones who would even know what Rockstar and Obey are. I'm theorizing that these kids are the symbolism of the two different types of people in the world. Those who are distracted by their addictions, their vices, their temptations, and those who see what's happening and want to find out more, or escape altogether. Speaking of escaping, the ending definitely reminded me of those people who prepared to go to another planet once they heard the world was ending. And that might have been back in like 2011. But Rose basically said, I'm done waiting for help. I'm gonna enjoy my last little bit of time on Earth. And she really left them. But let's back it up and talk about another thing that I noticed. One of the first incidents that happened in this movie was the White Lion ship crashing on the beach. But did you know the White Lion was actually the name of the first ship to bring abducted and enslaved Africans to America? Specifically to the English colony of Virginia back in 1619. Maybe it was symbolism of what was to come later on in the movie. And I'm talking about the tension between Amanda and her two unexpected guests at her vacation rental home. I'm thinking that it represents the racial biases and tension that's happening in our real world. Because Amanda could not believe that two black people could have owned that beautiful mansion, regardless of how much they proved that it was theirs. And she clearly did not want them to stay there with her and her family. Not until everyone let their guard down. Amanda and GH bonded over a few drinks and music, and Clay and Ruth shared a vape together. And not until they could let that bias and tension go, were they able to have a productive conversation about what could be happening. Before I dive deeper into the musical symbolism as well as the ending, I want to talk about one other message I found. And this one is obvious. It's technology. This is a basic one that most people should have picked up on. Throughout the entire movie, there was symbolism of how distracted we are with our phones and our devices, and also how we feel useless without them. Clay getting lost driving on the road, Rose not caring about the state of emergency that's going on and just wanting to watch Friends. Everyone the entire time checking their phones or trying to use their devices knowing there's a blackout. It speaks to how reliant we've become on technology, and how many people will fail to know how to function if we lost it all. And speaking of technology, let's talk about the record player. Considering what was in the gift box that Netflix sent to me, and all the different times that it was placed on screen, for example, the driveway to GH's house, Clay's t-shirt which had its own meaning within itself, and the vinyl library within the home, it's clear that the record player symbolizes something. Music is known to bring people together around the world. We bond over it every single day. So I have to think that it ties into an idea of friendship and togetherness, because that was the only time that GH and Amanda actually got along. From the beginning to the end of the movie, friendship and togetherness was referenced, especially with Rose's obsession with the show Friends. Some speculate that this is connected to something deeper and darker. Considering Matthew Perry's tragic passing as well as Doja Cat's recent release, referencing the show, I get why people say that, but I'm not too sure. I tried to look into the specific episode that Rose was super obsessed with. And here's the basic synopsis that I found. The six friends prepare to part ways and set out on the next chapters of their lives, with momentous events and surprises in store. GH, Ruth, Amanda, Clay, Archie, Rose, 6 people. I'm thinking that they were hinting at a part 2, especially considering the ending. But unfortunately, we will not know until they tell us. If you look at the context clues of the 3 situations at the end, you could probably guess why it is so significant now, and maybe even what might happen next. First, Clay, GH, and Archie are trying to get help from this overprotective gun-wielding man. And it's because Archie is now very sick. Isn't that a little strange? The one who was distracted got hit with sickness first. And in my opinion, this man definitely represents gun enthusiasts of America, especially with the red maple tree outside of his house, symbolizing protection, strength, and also him sporting the cowboy's hat, which are clues in itself. If you don't know, that's Texas. Once GH and Clay pleaded with him and convinced him to help, they learned that he believes that it's the Koreans who are behind what's happening, whereas they think it's people from Iran, based solely on the evidence that Clay retrieved in an earlier incident. But the man insists, claiming that his friend managed to get the same paper that they have, and concluded that it was definitely a country from Asia. So he suggested that they're all working together to dismantle the US. Once they get back in the car, GH has an information-heavy monologue, which basically states that it's very possible what the man said was correct. Every event that took place was planned, and was all to lead to some civil warfare, where they will all end up tearing each other apart. Now he wants to make sure that Clay will essentially stay his friend throughout this entire chaos, and makes him agree that they will not turn their backs against each other. especially because things are about to go to sugar honey iced tea. Then we have Amanda and Ruth, who clearly disliked each other throughout the entire movie. But when it came down to the terrifying event with the deer in the forest, they ended up working together to get out of it, which ended up bringing them a little bit closer, which also could be accredited to Ruth's vulnerability when speaking to Amanda about how she feels. And at the same time, they find out the chaos that's happening in the city. Now finally, Rose. She was just the overall message. All she wanted to do was see the season finale of Friends. But here's where I think that this all ties together. It's the final episode of Friends, so maybe it's tying into what GH said. A civil war is upon them. There is no more friends. Everyone is fending for themselves now. And that's basically what Rose did anyways. Even after hearing her mother calling her name, she ended up going downstairs and finding a bunker with plenty of food and water. And did she go back upstairs to tell them about it? No. She selfishly sat down and finished that final episode. And that was after she consumed all the food that was inside of the kitchen. Clearly a reference to gluttony. Oh, in conclusion, the ending is brilliant in my opinion. First of all, Rose's anxiety about finding out what happened at the season finale of Friends was recreated at the end of the movie. But this time, we were Rose and we wanted to know what happened to these 6 strangers that we spent 2 hours getting to know. And second, this all ties into the whole theory of this revolving around togetherness and friendship when there's chaos. And the only way to have that friendship and togetherness is letting those guards down, letting those tensions and biases go, and being able to communicate with each other. I have to give this movie a solid 9.5 out of 10. Honestly, I love the dialogue. The cinematography was beautiful, and the soundtrack was a personal plus for me. As you can see, I was diving deep into this movie. And I could be wrong about some of the details, some of it might be a stretch, but clearly it was an interesting watch for me.